and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. to Career Source Citrus, Levy, Marion, and learn how they can help you.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Deborah Shouse has been with us before. I'm looking forward to speaking to her again. Her topic is something I've thought about so many different times. And the topic is going through the holidays when someone you love is living with dementia. And so one of the things that is in my notes about how to do this, there's a book, by the way, called Connecting in the Land of Dementia that she wrote. But one of the things I want to say before we get to Deborah is that when we talk with anybody, especially when you get together with family at the holidays and you have all the different generations, we all automatically know to talk to grandma differently than you talk to 6-year-old Timmy. You know, we all know that, right? We all sort of instinctively know how to talk a little bit different, maybe different words, different body language, and etc. But the one thing is the person who has changed because of dementia, you might still talk to her the way you did, 5 years ago. And if dementia has taken hold, then maybe we need a couple of pointers, and that's why Deborah's on the phone. Deborah is an accomplished writer, a speaker, an editor, a creativity catalyst. I love that part. She's a dementia advocate, so are we. She's a journalist, a contributor to the Washington Post, the Christian Science Monitor, Reader's Digest, the Kansas City Star, Woman's Day, goes on and on and on. She's featured in more than 4 dozen Chicken Soup books, and it's an honor to have her on our little show. Deborah Shouse. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning. I'm so pleased to be here with you.
Thank you for being on with us again. Where are you calling from?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in. So just to kind of capitalize or continue with what I was saying, okay, if I go to a family gathering and I see Timmy, and Timmy's 6 years old, and 10 years from now, I go back and I hadn't seen Timmy since he was 6. Now I see him again, he's 16. I'm going to talk differently to him, but there's something instinctive that tells me to do that. But if grandma has dementia that started, let's say, 5 years ago, and now I see her again for the first time, which hopefully people are seeing their relatives more than every 5 or 10 years. But you know what I mean? Things change. We might not know exactly how to handle that.
I think you bring up a really good point. And one simple thing families can do is to let people know if someone has changed, so that you can be prepared if there's family members coming in from out of town or friends who haven't seen people for a long time, to let them know that, to introduce themselves and to ask open-ended questions so you don't make somebody uncomfortable and put them on the spot. And that sets the tone, just like we would do with anybody in our family who had any kind of special needs. It sets the tone so that you're going to create a space of comfort and safety for everyone in your family.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it? Especially if it becomes depressing, if it's sad. If grandma doesn't remember who you are, or it's just a completely different person, there's an element of sadness that the rest of us feel, and I don't know that we can do anything about that. It's just probably part of what to expect. Am I right?
I do think you're absolutely right. There is a sense of loss and grieving because you are losing one kind of relationship, the kind that you used to have with a person who's living with dementia at some point, and you are also gaining a different kind of relationship. So, for example, with me and my mom lived with dementia, we had kind of an intellectual relationship. We would talk a lot. When her conversational abilities changed, we had to figure out a different way to communicate. One of the things we did around the holidays, which was very helpful, is we cooked together, but we weren't in the kitchen. because the kitchen is a very chaotic place with a lot of noise and people bustling about, and that can be disturbing sometime when you're living with dementia. So we moved out into the dining room table where it was quieter. We sat down. We tore lettuce. We made salads. We took dull knives and cut mushrooms. We arranged flowers together. And so we had this sense that we were doing something together, something we used to do together, but in a slightly different way. And other people could come join us. And what was so cool is that when we got ready to have our meal and somebody said, "Oh, this is a great meal. Who helped make the meal?" And my brother had been in charge, so I said my brother, and then I introduced the cooking staff, and I included my mom on that. And after I said that, my mom whispered to me, "Did I help?" And I said, "Yes, Mom, you did help." And she said, "That's good. I like to help."
Oh, wow. Wow.
And so, it's such a beautiful moment, and it's another thing we all have to learn to let go of, that my mom didn't remember she'd helped a couple hours ago, and that didn't matter because she had pleasure while she was helping. We were engaged and connected together, and then she had a new pleasure later on, learning that she had helped.
Well, what is your advice to... Gosh, I think I would have advice in this case, but I want to hear yours. Let's say there's a teenager or a couple of kids, and they're just being silly, and they realize that grandma doesn't remember what she just answered. So you say, "What did you do last night?" And then she tells you, she watched a movie, and then next thing you know, she's saying, "Oh, I don't know what God, I asked it the wrong way." Or let's say she starts telling you a story, and then you say, "Oh, wow, that's great," and then she starts telling you the same story again. You know how that'll happen.
I do.
And so what I'm asking is not really about the dementia person, but about let's call him a smart aleck kid who wants to get grandma to keep telling the same story because he thinks it's funny or cute.
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean, how do you address that?
Well, I think two different things. Ideally, you can talk about that in advance and let them know if grandma is going through a repetitive phase, let them know they may hear the same story several times, and that to listen respectfully each time, and maybe ask again an open-ended question like, what does that story make you think of, Grandma? Or what do you like about that story? And see if you can get more of the conversation going. So that's one thing. And another thing is, if you see that that's going on, then maybe bring somebody else in to talk to Grandma. One thing we did is, with my mom and later with my mother-in-law, we always had somebody kind of sitting next to them, somebody we loved and trusted, to kind of be their companion and guide. So that sometimes when you're in a group, it's confusing. It's confusing for any of us sometimes. And so often my mom would say, what's happening? And so there was always somebody there to say, this is what's happening now. This is what's going to be happening later. Also, that person could introduce in case, so there's no awkwardness about not remembering names. And so that was very helpful to us, to just have a designated person and change that person throughout the course of the event. Another thing families can do is what times of day are difficult for the person living with dementia, and try to not have their holiday gathering at that time of day. And to give the person a quiet place to go to, if possible. Because we all know it can kind of get overwhelming at an exciting gathering. And
But you also have to make sure that the person that has dementia doesn't wander off, and that's where the buddy system that you mentioned earlier would really come into play, not just talking to them, but if grandma said she's going to the restroom, maybe she's, going to go out the front door and take a stroll.
Well, you've brought up another excellent point, and yes, that system just takes care of that. One of the great tips I heard from a friend of mine, Trin Seeley, was in her family, they had very chaotic family gatherings, And so the person living with dementia, when they got to kind of need some quiet space, they would go into another room with someone. People could visit one or two at a time, but they videotaped the big part of the gathering. And so they made a video of that, and that way they could watch it throughout the year. And I love that idea. So you don't have to miss anything. If you need a little quiet break, you can enjoy it at your leisure. And it can be something to share with everyone in the family.
Oh, I like that idea.
Isn't that a fun idea?
That is a good one, yeah. Well, we have to take a little break. Let's continue on the other side. This is probably something a lot of us can relate to. Deborah Shouse is our guest. We'll take a little break and be right back with Deborah. Her book is called Connecting in the Land of Dementia, Creative Activities to Explore Together. Let's explore those creative activities on the other side. This is The Source, WOCA.
Don't get caught without your daily source of senior deals. Pick up your copy of the Senior Voice newspaper. It's your source for schedule and events tailored to seniors, with information you need, like a list of free events in the area. We even have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company to you that fits your needs. And all we ask in return is that you tell them where you heard about them. For more information, call Tom's Picks, 352-804-1223. And pick up your copy of the Senior's Voice at most any business up and down the 200 corridor.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Hey, this is Dan. Let me ask you a few questions. Does your boat look better with the cover on? Has your car's interior seen its better days? Stop using a towel to cover up those rips in the golf cart. Isn't it about time you had it restored to better than new with a custom upholstery from Captain T? Captain T's Upholstery has been right here in Ocala for nearly 20 years, so they know how to make your ride one of a kind. Whether you want to take that classic ride back to a factory look or put your favorite sports team front and center, Captain T's Upholstery is who to call. 352-369-1810. That's 352-369-1810. Or stop by their location, 5030 South Pine Avenue in Ocala, just past the drive-in. And of course, don't forget to visit them on the web, CaptainTUpholstery.com.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
12 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this beautiful Thursday morning, actually. Gosh, we are just a hop and a skip away from the Christmas holidays. Hanukkah is this year the day after Christmas, right?
Yep.
26th, I believe it starts?
The 24th is...
24th, okay.
Yeah, the Hanukkah.
And then, of course, New Year's. Family gatherings are always this time of year, and Deborah Shouse is on the phone. Deborah, I don't know if you remember this about me, but Robin and I both worked, actually, for about 3 years at an assisted living facility. And they had a memory support unit, and I was in there almost every day. I didn't work in there, but I would go in there almost every day. And one of the things that I kind of stumbled upon, because I didn't work in there, but I would be there, like helping people, whatever. And so I found this picture of the Empire State Building, and I picked it up to look at it, and one of the ladies said, "Oh, I know where that is. That's in New York City." And I was like, "Whoa!" I didn't even think she could talk, but it kind of set off a light bulb in my head, and I said, "Oh my gosh, we could perhaps pull out some of these flashcards with just pictures on them and maybe stimulate some conversation." And sure enough, that's what we did, sort of like a game. Without any rules, really, just kind of showing. What do you remember? What does this remind you of? And Empire State Building was the only one I can think of right now. But I don't know. Do you have any advice for like games that might work? And would it work? Like in my situation, there was like a dozen people. In this case, in most people's homes, I'm guessing there's one, if not, maybe two. I don't know.
Well, I love your idea of adding in some games, some entertainment. I mean, one thing is, of course, music is always a lovely thing, and to have a sing-along, if there's familiar songs your family likes to sing, to print out the lyrics in big print and sing together. If you have talented family members who like to perform, have a little performance. The other thing is, and I love your idea of sharing pictures, and you did it in such a lovely way, saying, what does this make you think of? And again, inviting open-ended questions. So in a family, there could be pictures that are particularly familiar to you all.
Right.
Or another great idea is art. Looking at art together. is a wonderful thing, and you could pick art from the season, some famous winter pictures or Christmas or Hanukkah pictures, and look at those together. So that could be something fun. Another thing that's really kind of relaxing and soothing is just drawing together in a very simple way where each person gets a colored pen and just take turns making lines on the same piece of paper. Mm-hmm. So it turns into kind of a colorful conversation, and you can still talk while you're doing it, but there's no pressure to talk.
Is there more pressure on a spouse of somebody with dementia than a child of someone with dementia?
Well, I think it's just different. There's a different kind of loss, I think, with a spouse than with a child, and everybody's so different. But that is very intense, I think, to be going through that with your spouse, and I think it really helps to have other people around when you can to help you really appreciate what you're doing, the gift that you're giving, and also the gift that you're receiving back, because it's very reciprocal. We learn so much from people who are living with dementia.
But the caregiver has to be able to have some time for themselves also, to go to the beauty shop, to go grocery shopping, to do, go to a movie, go do something.
Absolutely. And I think that's one place that, we can all practice reaching out and asking for specific help from friends or family to help make that happen. And that's hard for people to do.
Sensitive question, if it's not too personal. Is your mom still alive?
No, my mom has since passed on.
Okay. And your dad, is he still alive?
No, in fact, he died first.
Okay.
I was surprised that he died first, but I think he really died of kind of a broken heart. He really could never quite adjust to what my mom was going through, even though he was loving and wonderful the whole time.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is the marital situation. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you before, but we witnessed a circumstance where the wife was in the center that we were at. She had severe dementia. The husband did not have dementia, and he would come in all the time and sit with her and hold her hand. And when he went home, he actually had another lady. He had a woman. And the woman knew about his wife, and the daughter, who was an adult, knew about the lady. In fact, they all lived together. But I guess the way to look at this, that he continued his life, kind of considered his first wife kind of deceased, but didn't give up on her either. He was kind of like he didn't marry the second lady as far as I know, but he was, what do you want to call it? Like he had like two wives for a while there. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? And maybe to expand it, what would you say to that guy if you were his relative, if you're at the party,
Well, I think for each of us listen to our own intuition and do our very best in any situation. And I like to have no judgment about what people do, because they're doing it for an inner reason that we may not understand. Mm-hmm. And so I think, all of our concern is that the person living with dementia is well cared for and loved, and that the care partner, equal concerned, takes care of themselves and feels loved and secured. And so as a family member, I'm sure that was complicated for some of his family members, but people cope in their best way.
Yeah. I even heard Dr. Schuler, was that his name? I think he died since. Mm-hmm. He was a pastor or something. I don't know if he was a priest, but anyway. Reverend, I think. But I heard him say something that he was okay with it. He was just saying, I think God would be okay with that. He was kind of giving you the green light if you needed that from somebody of that position. So, I wouldn't be judgmental either. I just don't know about everybody, though. I like the idea of the scrapbook. I like the idea of things that are familiar. Do you bring the party to a facility? Let me ask you that. Have you ever had that happen?
Absolutely. If a person cannot travel to you, then you can travel to them. And again, you can kind of coordinate things. So if there's several people who want to, participate in the holiday, you can. Sometimes it's nice to have a smaller group, so you can have several smaller groups come in at the right time of day, stay for an hour or two. You can bring decorations, you can bring music, you can bring some aromas, some holiday aromas that the person might enjoy. I mean, many care facilities have a kitchen you can, a little kitchen you can use. You can even bake or maybe even decorate. You could certainly decorate holiday cookies together.
Yeah.
So I think part of the art form is adapting. What did the person, think about what you love to do at the holidays, and then think about if you can't do it exactly in the same way, what is important for you to continue. So if, baking cookies has always been a part of your family tradition, how can that continue? Maybe you bake the cookies together. Maybe if you're in a care facility, somebody bakes them and you decorate them together so that you're staying engaged. The person, like all of us, the person with dementia, wants to feel like they're participating, like they're part of it. So think of the ways you can help them feel like they're contributing to the holiday.
But it's just not about the holiday, though. Sometimes people just get together and then they do it during the holiday, and then the other 11 months of the year, that person is forgotten about.
Well, that's one reason I wanted to write my book, Connecting in the Land of Dementia, Creative Activities to Explore Together, because I think one thing that happens is when our relationships change, we sometimes feel awkward going in to visit. We don't know what to do. And so what I love about the simple activities I've gathered from dozens of experts all over the world, they are things you can take with you into a care facility anytime you're visiting someone that give you a focus. So if the conversation isn't the same as it used to be, you have something to play with together. And it's good for everyone. It boosts the brain and the energy of both people who are participating.
What I can see this book serving is, who I can see it serving is anybody with somebody with dementia, but also somebody who's working in this profession, regardless of whether you're the activities director or even the staff that helps change the sheets on the bed. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that this would help for everybody. The book is called Connecting in the Land of Dementia: Creative Activities to Explore Together. If you are at a facility, definitely get this book for at least the activities director, because a lot of this has to do with that kind of stuff. And Deborah Shouse is the author. Deborah, how do we get the book?
Well, you can get it at your favorite independent bookstore or online. And I invite people to visit my website, which is dementiajourney.org. And I post a blog every week that's got uplifting, interesting information to help care partners on their journey.
Another element to this too is the relative who tells you how to reverse dementia. The guy guy who knows more than you do. Have you had that happen?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I think you always hope that person is right, but yes, people have a lot of opinions, and that is one of the art forms of being a care partner, is just to listen quietly and learn what you can, because we're all trying to learn. And maybe one of these times you'll learn something great.
You never know, right? Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you have a great holiday, whatever you celebrate, and stay warm. Where are you again? Where are you calling from?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, Kansas City. How's the weather there today?
It's a big chill today.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Well, Deborah, it's always a joy to have you on the show. Thank you for doing what you do. I really think that this makes a real difference for a lot of folks who are dealing with somebody with dementia. Thank you for taking the time to be on the air with us today.
Oh, it's a total pleasure.
Thank you. We will be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.